Well, on to the big developing story that we're tracking from pole-bound Jammu and Kashmir this Friday morning. 7 security personnel have been killed in the firing that is still raging inside an army camp in the Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir's Baramulla district. Reports suggest that it could have been a suicide attack. Baramulla, remember, goes to vote in the third phase of elections in the valley on the 9th of December. The Prime Minister is also going to be in Srinagar on Sunday, and the attack comes despite security being at an all-time high in the valley. The first 2 phases recorded a record 71% voter turnout, and the attack is being seen as an attempt to spread panic ahead of the next phase of elections. Well, this is the latest that is in fact coming in from Jammu and Kashmir. A major terror attack ahead of the third phase of assembly elections at an army camp in Uri, which is in the Baramulla district of Jammu and Kashmir. 1 army officer, 2 army jawans and 2 Jammu and Kashmir police personnel have reportedly been killed in a fierce gun battle that is still continuing between heavily armed terrorists and the army and the police at that camp in Uri. Military intelligence sources are confirming to headlines today that terrorists carefully chose a soft target to attack, and the intelligence has also warned of multiple attacks not just on military positions but also civilian targets before the next phase of elections in Jammu and Kashmir. 2 terrorists have reportedly been killed so far, but there could be more than one group of terrorists out there to in fact target the elections. A fierce gunfight is currently underway at that camp in Uri. Also, what we're getting to know from ground zero is that it was in fact a field ordnance camp, and there was a lot of ammunition that was in fact stored in the camp. Reports of a fire also breaking out in the camp, but fire tenders still unable to reach as a fierce gun battle is underway. Deputy Editor Shiv Arora joins me live for more. Shiv, take us through the latest.
Rishika, we've just got the official army statement on what happened. I'm just going to read that out for our viewers. An attack by a group of terrorists took place at the Mahura camp near Rampur in Uri at 3 o'clock this morning. The quick reaction teams were rushed and the terrorists were surrounded. 1 quick reaction team vehicle was fired upon by the terrorists on the main road, which fell down and caused the fatal casualty to 1 officer and 2 jawans of the army. 1 terrorist has been confirmed killed till last reports received. Operations are currently in progress. So basically, a situation where quick reaction teams were deployed to actually cut off the terrorist progress through the camp, Rishika, but they were fired upon, and in that initial ambush that took place, 1 army officer and 2 jawans were killed in that initial encounter that took place. Now, the army update that we've got, the official update, says 1 terrorist has been killed, but we do have confirmation from the army verbally that a 2nd terrorist has also been eliminated in this attack. Now, at least 1 or 2 more terrorists are believed to, still be part of this operation, even though there are unconfirmed reports that a 3rd terrorist may also have been killed in the ongoing attack. We do also understand that the terrorists may have actually split up into 2 groups once they entered this particular camp in the Mahura area of Rampur in Uri, which is basically the headquarters of a field regiment, the 31 field regiment in that particular area. And it appears clear at this time, Rishika, that this particular army camp was definitely on target. It's an extremely secure location. It's highly fortified. There's lots of security in this area because of the, not just because it's an army camp, but also because there's a lot of ammunition and ordnance that's stored at a depot inside the premises of this army camp. So it is a sensitive location as well, obviously specifically chosen by the terrorists to extract maximum casualties. So we're waiting to get more details about precisely where this operation is at this point of time, though hopefully it will be winding down at this time because reinforcements have arrived. The sun has risen, even though the terrorist attack began at 3 this morning when it was pitch dark. It was extremely cold. It's a high altitude area, but now it's obviously the sun is up. So, the operations should be winding down at this time.
All right. Hopefully the operations should be winding down. There are several other army personnel who have in fact been injured. The nature of those injuries is not known so far. Shiv, stay on with us. Shuja Ulhaq is also joining us at this point in time. Shuja, 2 attacks in the past 4 days. Clearly, this is an attempt, by the rattled anti-national elements to in fact attack ahead of the next phase of elections.
Well, Rishika, there have been, intelligence inputs right from the beginning that there are possibilities that militant groups might want to, carry out strikes like these to disrupt the entire atmosphere, which is prevailing right now around these elections. But since yesterday, the intelligence, intel was very, very high. In fact, yesterday only there was a specific input that there could be a militant strike in Srinagar city itself, and that's why a lot of new police personnel could be seen in the city, and a lot of sanitization was taken, was done. But there was a general alert in any case that militants might want to carry out suicide bids to create a spectacle sort of a situation, and this perhaps seems to be one of those reasons why this attack has taken place. And the important point to mention here is that it is the location of this particular camp is very near to the line of control, so it's quite possible that these militants were had just arrived, infiltrated from the other side, and had this plan right from the beginning to carry out this kind of an attack on a soft army camp or installation like this one. Let's remember, this is the base ordnance camp and the artillery camp of the brigade in North Kashmir, and attacking a camp like this is probably something that a lot of people would not preempt, and that's the reason why initially there wasn't any clarity as to what was really happening, whether this was a fire, whether this had just another incident, and that's why the police had also arrived, which got entangled into the situation then later on.
Well, absolutely. The latest figures that are in fact coming in from the army is that 1 army officer, 2 army jawans and 2 Jammu and Kashmir police personnel have been killed in the ongoing encounter. Editor Strategic Affairs Gaurav Sawant also joins me live from the newsroom. Gaurav, you've been reporting that the military intelligence had warned of multiple attacks, not just on military but also civilian targets before the next phase of the Jammu and Kashmir elections.
What sources in both military intelligence and the intelligence bureau told headlines today was that Pakistan was rattled by 71% voter turnout in the first 2 phases of Jammu and Kashmir elections, and they were desperate to disrupt these elections. The latest incident that had taken place in Naugam, 14,000 feet altitude, was where terrorists were trying to infiltrate from. Now, those terrorists had military-grade training, they had military-grade weapons, and that indicated the involvement of Pakistani state. Just when that incident took place, there was increased wireless chatter, and sources had told us that before the next phase of elections, as Shuja was also telling us, Srinagar would be targeted. Phases that go into elections, those cities will be targeted, and in Uri, this army camp has been targeted. Now, if you look at this camp, it's very close to the line of control. It's a brigade location. It's a softer target. An artillery gun position was targeted. Now, what sources are telling me at this stage is that there are between 4 to 6 terrorists who tried to sneak in. 2 terrorists have been killed, but there still could be 4 terrorists out there, because that is where, from different locations, security forces are engaging these terrorists. But once again, it could well be a case of terrorists changing positions and attacking the army. They've now been cordoned off in a particular area so that they don't spread out. The ammunition depot as of now is safe. Additional QRTs have been rushed in, but this firefight is far from over.
The firefight is far from over, but Gaurav, at this point in time, this is a complete security nightmare, given the fact that the 3rd phase of elections is on the 9th of December, and also given the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in fact visiting Srinagar on Sunday.
This was expected. The audacity with which these terrorists attacked, 4 to 6 terrorists targeting an artillery gun position, that was something perhaps that was unexpected. But security forces were on a state of alert. They were anticipating this. In fact, sources had warned of multiple simultaneous attacks taking place. That is what terrorists had planned. That is what the intelligence seemed to indicate, that there wouldn't be an attack just at one location at one time. There would be multiple places attacked, either one after the other or simultaneously, and the security forces are geared up for that. But since it's a suicide attack, it's the terrorists who have the initiative, and this is where the gunfight is going on. Were there lapses? We will know, during the inquiry.
That really is the big question, Gaurav, because as Shiv Arur and you have been pointing out throughout this report, this morning, is that this is an extremely, high security zone. It is a completely fortified area. How then did these terrorists in the dead of night manage to infiltrate and cause so much damage is, of course, a matter of more detailed investigation. And, this entire incident also assumes a lot of significance, given the fact that the Prime Minister had also previously, called on the army chief to, in fact, meet him today and apprise him on the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir.
You're spot on there. This is a sensitive area. It's close to the line of control. There are 3 tiers of security in place. One right at the line of control. Then there's the depth area. And then in this urban area, apart from the 3 tiers of the army, there's also the state police. There are also central police organizations in this entire area. And somewhere down the line, they will have to explain if the situation was well under control, how did the terrorists succeed? But given the fact it's a suicide attack, it's the terrorist who has the initiative. He managed to breach one layer of cordon at one level, but then again army insists as of now they've stopped these terrorists from entering the sensitive areas of the camp. They've been engaged at the periphery, but until this operation is over, you can never be sure.
Well, absolutely. And Gaurav, considering the fact that this attack in fact started at 3 a.m. in the dead of the night, when temperatures are extremely low at this point in time in the year, given the fact that the sun has risen, it's been a couple of hours since the attack has been going on, are you at all hearing anything, given the fact that additional forces have now been called in, that this attack could perhaps, the ongoing attack could perhaps be winding down?
If you look at a pattern of terrorist attacks that have taken place at military locations, it is around 3 and 4 in the morning that terrorists strike. That's the time that security is seen to be lax. The night guard is still to change, the morning guard is yet to take over, and that is why the army also now keeps changing the pattern of guard duty, so that at 3 and 4 in the morning, when you're relaxed, that's the time that the attack can usually take place. The army is meant to be alert at that point of time.
Right.
How did these terrorists succeed in breaching that cordon remains to be seen. The casualty that the army has suffered when the QRT, the quick reaction team, that young officer and his vehicle, when they were coming in, terrorists opened fire at that vehicle on the main road, and that's when the vehicle went off-road. It went into a ditch, and the officer and the Jawan were killed. So that is where the military casualties have taken place.
Right.
As far as the police casualties have taken place, that happened in the encounter once again at the periphery. So how have the terrorists succeeded in entering the camp? The army says yes, there is a gunfight that's taking place at 3 different locations.
Okay.
We'll know more when the operation is over.